Gavin, talk about your love of birds.
There's something instinctive that has an instinctive relationship with birds. There's a liberation that they have in being able to fly through the air and the elements around them. And they do it so gracefully and so powerfully. So they represent freedom. It's similar to when I was a young child and I used to like to ask my dad to take me to the airport. We would watch airplanes take off and land and go through the flight pattern. And I just found it eminently fascinating. It's also striking to me, flight is a very powerful thing. I was very curious when I grew up about the Wright brothers and the development of that whole field of aviation. I also have a good friend, the poet David White, and Boeing asked him to write a poem about the nature of flight. And it was so beautiful because it talked about the way that the wings are carried by the wind and lifted. And the analogy was that we, in our lives, there are unseen forces that are very real, that buoy us, that lift us up and support us in flight and coming into who we are. I also one time was down in Mexico and I did some paragliding behind a boat. So I kind of had the experience of being up there. The other thing I realized is that I learned how to fly when I was about 21. Even though I'm terrified of heights, I went up in a plane one day and I was scared to death, but something had said, challenge yourself, learn how to fly. So I did all of the ground school, all of flight school, all the written and all the tests, and then I did all the hours and paid for all the hours. And on my one flight that I went up that was a solo flight, it was a 3-part trip. On the way home, I almost got hit 3 times by other planes because I was flying in Van Nuys Airport in the San Fernando Valley of California. At the time, it was the busiest airport in the world with small planes. So there's a lot of inexperienced pilots. But it was so terrifying, I just stopped cold. I didn't ever go flying again. You know, I fly commercially, but I let go of my final step of, getting my license. And I told myself, if I ever move to an area that's not crowded, I'll take this up again. I have yet to, I don't know if I'll move on that in this lifetime, but I am proud of myself for having challenged myself to fly. And I did. Because it's fraught with danger mixed with the power of freedom, of liberation. It's an interesting territory that birds and airplanes